Hey guys, Tony here. Welcome back. Lots of good news from Rivian yesterday in the after hours earnings release for Q3. We listened live to the management call and got to hear all of the questions that analysts have. I want to go over with you quickly what some of the highlights from that earnings call was. Rivian traded up in extended hours last night and this morning to a high of 1910, although in early hours of trading this morning it is back down a little bit. Let's get right into the key information. Compared to what analysts had been expecting for Q3, Rivian delivered a beat on both earnings per share and top-line revenues. Analysts had been expecting earnings to come in at a negative $1.34 per share. They came in better than that at only negative $1.19 per share. On the top-line revenue side, analysts had been expecting Rivian to report $1.32 billion, and Rivian delivered a beat on that as well. Revenue jumping to $1.337 billion. Now let's go through a few of the highlights that management shared with us on the Q3 earnings call yesterday. In Q3, Rivian began delivery of the R1 Max Pack vehicles. The Max Pack is another battery choice, an upsell for Rivian that delivers up to 410 miles per charge, giving customers now a variety of price points to choose from and a variety of ranges on the batteries. Having different battery options available to customers with upsells as high as $16,000 helps drive more revenue to Rivian's bottom line. Rivian also announced that the commercial vans, or their EDV, will now be available to other commercial customers besides just Amazon. Amazon had an exclusive contract on these vehicles, but now going forward from here, Rivian will be able to sell them to other commercial customers. I want to set your expectations properly. In the next couple of quarters, you will see some pilot programs announced from Rivian for new commercial customers that will be testing out these vans. However, you're not going to see an immediate flood of new EDV orders from commercial customers because they need to pilot them out. In the long term, though, this is definitely a win for Rivian and for investors. 16,304 was the quantity of vehicles produced by Rivian in Q3, a very healthy increase year over year. They had 7,363 produced a year ago, and last quarter, 13,992. So we want to see that upward trajectory, and Rivian is delivering on that. They increased their guidance on total production from the year. They had previously said 50 to 52,000 for the year. Now they are upping their production guidance to 54,000 units. That gives us an estimate for Q4 production at 14,309 units. Now you will notice that that 14,000 number is slightly lower than the 16,000 that they just did. They are shutting down for a week to pilot some upcoming manufacturing changes that will be implemented in Q2 and Q3 of 2024. So we have that to think about. And they also said that in the busy holiday season, which we're entering right now, Amazon takes less delivery of the EDV vans just to simplify their process. So the production numbers for Q4 for Rivian will also be impacted by that. Other high-level improvements that they wanted to communicate is that adjusted EBITDA for the year is improved now to negative $4 billion. Yes, it's still a negative number. Welcome to the startup EV world, my friends. But it is an improvement over previous guidance. And the CapEx guidance has been reduced to $1.1 billion. One other thing worth pointing out from the first few slides in this presentation is that Rivian is continuing to work on reducing the cost and get to that point where they can start generating profit at the gross level on their vehicles. And so they are telling us that in Q3, compared to the second quarter, gross profit per unit delivered improved by approximately $2,000 per vehicle, despite a reduced charge and lower cost or net realizable value, which is LCNRV, write-downs on inventory, and losses on firm purchase commitments. LCNRV is just something that accountants have to look at the end of each quarter, looking at the inventory and then making adjustments. It will affect your cost of goods on the income statement increasing cost of goods, and it will affect your inventory on the balance sheet, in this case, reducing the value of the inventory. Despite those adjustments on the income statement, Rivian still had an improvement of $2,000 on the gross profit per unit. And they said that they expect that to improve even more every quarter that goes along, as LCNRV will be less of an impact. In fact, even better news was shared on the phone call. They said that if you exclude the LCNRV write-downs and the losses on firm purchase commitments, the actual improvement on gross profit per unit for this quarter would have been $14,000 per unit. And as it says here in orange, they are forecasting reaching positive gross profit per unit in 2024. To keep this in perspective for any of you that are not financial folks, gross profit is your top line revenue minus the cost of that revenue, or the cost of producing the vehicle. For Rivian in Q3, the one that just ended, it was negative 477 million gross profit. Even when they get to a point where they are positive gross profit in 2024, you still will probably have a net income negative at the bottom line, your earnings per share, because you have to back out the SG&A, research and development, other operating expenses, interest expense, and income tax. But hey, it's a battle and a struggle to get to overall positive, and the very first step is getting gross profits positive, and they're telling us they expect that in 2024. On this slide, we have some of the financial highlights for the quarter, the most recent quarter being the one in the far right. So I want to direct your attention to that, but I want you to look from left to right and see the improvements. Yes, this company is still losing money, and it will be losing money for some time until they get production numbers up. But what we are looking for is not just the improvement in the number of vehicles that they are producing and delivering, but improvement as that happens to the financial results. You can see that gross margin over the year has improved from negative 171% to negative 36%. Gross profit per unit was negative $139,000 per unit, now negative $30,000 per unit. Keep in mind that is the number we were talking about a few minutes ago that they are forecasting in 2024 will be positive, the gross profit per unit or the gross margin percentage. In the middle, loss from operations has improved from negative $1.7 billion to negative 1.4 for the quarter. And moving into the lower third of this table, we can see that free cash flow non-GAAP has improved from negative 1.6 billion to the most recent quarter, just over 1 billion, while adjusted EBITDA non-GAAP has improved from 1.3 billion negative to negative $942 million. Lots of negatives on here. Again, it's a EV startup company. It's going to be negative for a while. And you need to realize that as an investor and not get all caught up in hype and shiny cars. Keep the financials in mind as you're deciding when and if to buy this stock. Very last row is the cash and cash equivalents. A year ago, it was at 13.8 billion. The most recent quarter, it ended at 9.1 billion. They did do a cash raise that is not included in this quarter because of the timing. So there is approximately another 1.6 billion that we can add now to the cash and cash equivalents. That would make it effectively $10.7 billion. I'm going to throw up the dashboard here and we'll talk about it in just a second, but I want to talk about some of the other questions that the analyst asked on the phone call last night. There were a lot of questions about 2024. Rivian will be shutting down production for a few weeks in Q2 and Q3 because they're going to do some improvements to the manufacturing line and some new parts that will reduce costs. So we'll have kind of a clean Q1. We'll have a clean Q4. The Q2 and Q3 production numbers might be a little messy due to that shutdown, but once we get past that, assuming that the vehicle production and deliveries continue to increase with those cost-cutting measures after Q4, things should look really, really good for Rivian. Also, maybe by that time, with this commercial EDV cargo van being available to other commercial clients, maybe in that year, we get some of these pilot programs done and start getting some news about firm orders into 2025 on the EDV. As we move into 2026, we've got the new Georgia manufacturing plant coming online. We've got the new R2 products being added to the mix. So I think as an investor, you need to think years out on this investment and understand the whole timeline of what is going on with Rivian. For me, I'm probably going to be playing swing trades on Rivian if I'm playing it at all. I don't have any investment in Rivian stock at the moment because of the losses that the company is still incurring, but I will be watching news from the company every quarter, be watching for opportunities to trade the volatility. The dashboard is updated here with my risk assessment on Rivian. Obviously, we'd like to see companies where everything is green. When we see a lot of red and yellow, that just tells me, hey, there's a lot of risk. You're going to be trying to buy now. You have a lot of downside potential. That is just part and parcel of owning companies that have negative earnings. As always, do your own due diligence, make your own trades in your trading style. Let me know down in the comments what you're going to be doing with Rivian, what you think about these Q3 results. I hope to hear from you. Thank you for watching. I am Tony Denaro, and I will see ya on the next video.